Welcome to the Drew Rice Show, brought to you by Neighborhood Ford. I'm Marky Billson. The Unicoi County Blue Devils are 2-0 for the first time in 6 years. If you defeat North Greene, you'll be 3-0 for the first time in this century. What does this mean, in your opinion, to the community?
Well, I don't know. These kids have worked extremely hard, and it's just nice to see that their hard work kind of showing up in in the wins and losses column. So, but we like I said, we just take it one game at a time, and we can't get looking too far down the road. And this is our first region game, so despite what their record is, we've got to approach it, like we do every other game, and this is the first step, to a region championship. So that's kind of how we're trying to approach it.
Now, you'll be without Kody Lewis in this game, from what you just told me. Hurt himself at the end of the Sullivan East victory. Tell us his status.
Yeah, we thought it was his knee at first, and then over the weekend his ankle started bothering him. So we were, weren't really sure what was going on there. And anytime you start talking about knees, it's kind of worrisome. But he went to the doctor on Tuesday and got a good report, and it's just a real minor hamstring strain, so it's not even in his knee. So that was excellent news. But just to be precautious, we're going to hold him this week. We know he's going to go back to running back, and he had the run the other night, won the game for us. So Kody's very, very special, but we feel like we're blessed with some depth, so hopefully that's going to show up for us this week.
Noah White, the 46-yard run for the victory against the Patriots, and of course you can always use Brett Strother in the backfield as well. Does anybody else step up in today's game?
Those are the two main ones, we are going to try to make throwing the football a focus against North Greene, just because we've kind of gotten away from it a little bit. Obviously the first game the weather affected that, and both the last two games we've had success running the football, but we know we've got a quarterback that can throw it, and we know we've got guys that are hard to defend on the perimeter, especially Brett. So we're going to try to get him going and get him some touches early and see what he can do with it.
Going back to the Lewis injury, though, I've got to ask you, there was 1:50 left. Sullivan East had one timeout, and you continued to run the ball. Why didn't you at that point fall on the ball? Was it the lack of a 40-second clock at Sullivan East, and you weren't quite sure but what was it there?
Yeah, the math is always with the new, the 40-second clock kind of changes those situations a little bit, but we knew we had to be under 1:30. Otherwise we had to get a first down. So the way we could run it out, and they would have had the ball with like 30 seconds left. So the way we figured it, we said we had to get a first down here, and we ended up getting it. And actually, the play Kody got hurt on, if he had not gotten hurt, see, when a player gets hurt, it goes to a 25-second clock instead of the 40. That 15 seconds is what made us have to run the very last play where Brett actually ends up getting the first down anyway, but the clock ran out. So it was just a strange kind of mix, but we looked at it and said we've got to get a first down here or not. If we don't, they're going to get the ball, assuming they stopped us, 25-30 seconds left.
Well, I don't mean to give you a hard time here, but 40 seconds, it's 1:20, and there's 1:50 left. Figuring 4 plays, taking 5 seconds each and 5 seconds to spot the ball, that's 1:50 right there.
Yeah, we've got a cheat sheet in the press box, and it's got every situation broke down and every single scenario you could possibly play out. And with their timeout situation, we knew that we figured that last drive we had to get a first. So if that was incorrect, then that was incorrect. But it's the same one we used the week before to run the clock out against South Greene. So that's what we go with.
Well, you are 2-0. I do want to ask you a question about the rankings. I know that that's not your favorite topic, but yes, I believe it was Johnson County was in the top 10 with a 1-1 record, while here's Unicoi County still others receiving votes at 2-0. Any thoughts on that?
Not really. They had a great year last year, and it is what it is. Like I said, we don't get caught up in that too much, but it is going to be interesting tonight. Johnson County plays Chucky Doak, and West Greene plays Claiborne. So that's the two games that we're kind of really got an eye on. See how those shake out, because that's the rest of the region, with us in North Greene. So we're very anxious to see how that shakes out. But as far as the rankings go, like I said, we're just going to continue to worry about us and see what happens.
Back with more of the Drew Rice Show after this from Neighborhood Ford. We're back here with Drew Rice. I'm Marky Billson. The Drew Rice Show brought to you by Neighborhood Ford. Today's game is against North Greene. It's been a program that seems to have struggled forever. Last year you defeated them 43-0. How do you prevent your team from getting overconfident in a game like this?
Yeah, that's something we've talked about this week. Despite their record and despite how we played well against them last year, but like we said, this is the first step in a region championship, so we're certainly not taking them lightly. And with Kody being out, we've kind of really had to ask some guys to step up in some situations, and we've had a great week of practice, and so I hope we play well. That's the plan anyway.
If there's a criticism of Unicoi County's football play this year, it's got to be the slow start. 12-0 against South Greene, 7-0, say 13-7, or excuse me, let me go back to this, 14-13 in the fourth quarter against Sullivan East. What's been the reason for this slow start, seemingly in the first two games?
That's a great question. I would like to know the answer to that myself. We feel like we've been prepared each week, and but yeah, you're right. The first quarter, the first game, I can kind of write off the first game. There's such a build up to it and things like that, and but that's a great question. We've made that a focus this week to say we have to start games better, and because eventually, that coming from behind is going to catch up with you. You're not going to be able to, get it done. So that's been a focus of ours this week, and that's certainly a focus, against North Greene to come out and have a great start.
Well, North Greene isn't going to come out here and lay down. Let's talk about the Huskies here. Who are the players, when you've looked at them on huddle or on film, who impress you?
Well, they've got some good-looking kids, and they've and their numbers seem to be up too. It looks like they've got 45 or 40 kids, so I think that's quite a bit more than they've had in years past. So they got a couple of kids on the perimeter that are good-looking kids. They got number 4. His name's escaping me right now, but he's a good-looking kid, and he does some good things on film, and their quarterback is a decent athlete, and they've got some big linemen. So we'll see. We feel like we've got a good game plan in place, and we've prepared well, and we've got 2 films to look at and see what they've had some success with. So we'll see.
Let's talk a little bit about conditioning, which is something that it looks like has influenced the 2 games that you've played. It seems like you were stronger at the end. That was clearly noticeable last year when I saw you guys play North Greene. The changes in conditioning. Let's go because only 10 years ago you were a player here, Drew Rice. What have been the changes in conditioning, let's say from when you were a player to now when you're the head coach of the Blue Devils?
Well, I just think that's sort of the direction football's went in general.
Sure.
Just such an emphasis on not only the strength building and the conditioning element of it, but also, it's huge in injury prevention.
Yeah.
Kody, the doctor told Kody that if his hamstrings hadn't been so strong that injury probably would have ended up in his knee, but his hamstring was able, it was strong enough, and he's worked it to be strong enough that it kind of guarded his knee, which is exactly what you want. So, but the first kind of staff decision I made that my first off season was to hire a full-time strength conditioning coach, and Coach Peterson that. He's also a physical therapist, so he obviously knows what he's doing in that regard. But he's done a tremendous job, and we've made that a great focus of ours. And, starting in December, we're in here 5 days a week, year-round, and not a lot of people do that. So it's good to see that start to show up, not only in our strength but also our conditioning, because we spend a lot of time during the week making sure we're physically ready, and we try to, take those things into account. And even now, in season, we're still lifting 3 days a week. So that's a huge focus of ours, and it's nice to see it starting to show up.
Well, is there anything in terms of the actual exercising, for lack of a better term? I mean, are you doing more sit-ups? Are you doing more bench presses? Anything of that nature?
Well, we really, most people will agree that have, at the next level, and certainly higher up, that the squat's probably the most important lift in football, and that's kind of a natural motion. You get in it when you're in a stance, and you're running and all these different things. So we make a great emphasis on that, and we've made a great emphasis on our hang cleans and power cleans and things like that. So that's probably we've got 4 major lifts, but those are the 2 that we probably put the most stock in. But that's pretty standard. I mean that's nothing groundbreaking, but it's certainly a priority for us for sure.
Outside of Kody Lewis, are there any other injuries to report?
No, we get Lane Garland back this week. He had to sit out last week, but he's back, and we've been.
What was Garland's injury?
He just was under concussion protocol, so it's a week-long deal. So he's through that, and he's fine now. So he'll be back. And other than that, other than Kody, we're relatively healthy. So we're gonna try to keep it that way as we go throughout the season. That's part of it. The injuries are part of it, but we're trying to stay as healthy as we possibly can.
Same lineup as last time?
Yes, sir.
The Drew Rice Show. Unicoi County prepares to play North Greene. It's been brought to you by Neighborhood Ford. I'm Marky Billson. Back after this on 1420 NBC Sports Radio Tri-Cities.